Thank you so much for staying with us. The Youth Initiatives Dashboard, YAD, is set to be launched on Tuesday by the Office of the Special Assistant to the President on Youth Initiatives, Monitoring and Delivery. This initiative is designed to provide a comprehensive, real-time overview of youth-related programs, projects and policies that are implemented across the country. The dashboard serves as a dynamic tool that tracks the progress of various youth initiatives, allowing stakeholders, including government agencies, organizations and youth themselves, to access up-to-date information on ongoing projects, achievements and areas of improvement. By consolidating data in an easily navigable format, the platform enhances transparency, accountability and engagement, empowering youth and enabling them to take an active role in shaping their future. Now, joining us from our Abuja studio is the Special Assistant to the President on Youth Initiative, Titilope Badamosi. Thank you so much for joining us. It's good to have you on TVC Breakfast this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here.
Fantastic. So talk to us about what this is all about. You know, the Youth Initiative, the Youth Initiative Dashboard. What is it exactly meant to do? Because I just wanted to break it down. I was able to read some of these, especially while I'm reading the introduction to this conversation. But could you even break it to brass tacks for people who are watching to understand better?
Thank you very much. The Youth Activities Dashboard is Nigeria's first digital monitoring platform for young people to follow government initiatives for young people across all ministries, departments and agencies. Before now, we have had a lot of developments in the youth ecosystem across different ministries, departments and agencies. That is outside of the Ministry of Youth Development. But when this office came into being, that is the Office of the Special Assistant to the President on Monitoring and Delivering of Youth Initiatives, we found it important to harness all of this, to aggregate all of these initiatives into one platform so that young people can know what is happening for them in their regions, their states and their local governments. And then it also enables us to track the growth of the youth development, and as well as to see what we can do better in the youth ecosystem. Apart from government harnessing her resources to a better, for better impactful projects, it also helps us give development partners as well as CSOs the right direction to go in. So for instance, if government is doing so much in agriculture and we need help in other sectors in youth development, then the development partners or the CSOs understand that, okay, this is the percentage that government is working on. We can up the ante here or we can support here. So the Youth Activities Dashboard is not just for the Nigerian youth, it's also for everybody who has a stake, who is a stakeholder in the youth ecosystem, starting from government down to the private sectors.
Interestingly, because globally, youth-focused dashboards have succeeded in countries like Estonia and India. So I'm wondering whether you drew lessons from some of these countries, or what we have in Nigeria, what we are birthing in Nigeria is a homegrown initiative that you've introduced to the governance system.
Yes, we are working with international best practices, and you know, sometimes when you want to work on something that is defective, or you want to work on a defective system, you want to look at what has happened before and what is working in other countries. So this activities dashboard is a solution to the youth development sector. And it's also because most of the time when a lot of activities happen within the youth ecosystem, the youth development sector, young people in Nigeria who make up 60% of the population always say, most times, that they do not know what is happening for them in government. What is this government doing for us? What are the achievements of young people in this government, or what are the programs that this government has for us? So we are essentially bridging the gap, giving information out, and also giving young people who are looking up to government to succeed information that they need to latch on. So take for instance, there are initiatives or projects happening in your state. You can even apply to be a part of this project, apply to be a part of these initiatives. I remember that recently we went to monitor 1 or 2 projects, and we had young people in that vicinity, in the community, who came out to own the project and who said that they would also like to partake in being people who can transfer knowledge to other young people in that community. So information is very important in youth development, and for if they don't have information, if young people in Nigeria don't have information, then we will not be doing them any service. So that's the first thing we are bringing. The Youth Activities Dashboard is just the tip of the iceberg. It's the first work that we are bringing out, and it's the easiest, if you ask me, because what we are going to be feeding the dashboard with is real-time data from different parts of Nigeria. At the moment, we are set to launch tomorrow by 9 a.m. And when we launch, young people in Nigeria would see the number of initiatives that the government has for them. At the moment, we have counted more than 500 initiatives. I wouldn't like to give the total number now because we are launching tomorrow. But it also gives young people a sense of belonging. They understand that in their state, if they are from Katsina State, this is what we have in Katsina State. And then it also gives us a unique advantage. When we look at the spread of youth initiatives across Nigeria, we know that we cannot have equal initiatives in all parts of Nigeria. So what do? We approach the state government in some cases to say, you need to up the ante to make sure that your young people or the young people in your state get this so and so resources to add to what the federal government is bringing to them. And on our own part as federal government, we work closely, my office works closely with the Office of the Minister of Youth Development. And what we now do is we look at these other states and say, okay, these states are disadvantaged in these sectors. How can we bring programs, projects, or initiatives to make sure that we have a balance, or we try to achieve a balance? So it's essentially being accountable to young people in Nigeria. It's also giving development partners, CSO, private sectors who have all been in the youth development space a sense of direction, and not everybody going in different areas and working in silos. It also helps us look at the different buckets that we want to work on. Are we working on initiatives for tertiary institution graduates? What about those who just finished secondary schools who have not been able to proceed? What kind of initiatives do we have for them? And what can we package for youth at risk, those who have dropped out from schools? So all of this would come in where we have a spread of data, and that's what we have achieved with the Youth Activities Dashboard.
Right. And we have a tech-savvy population of youth in the country, so monitoring a dashboard should not necessarily be an issue for them. But I think we, to an extent, or in recent months, we've had a level of apathy to government initiatives. They just see it as one of those things. What's the plan of your office to rekindle this, level of interest by youth in government initiatives through this dashboard?
Thank you very much for this question. What I have seen since assuming my role in this office is that Nigerian youth want this country to work. And I have seen it because through our different social media platforms, we interact, we sensitize young Nigerians, and they are very keen, they are very eager. The launch we are planning for tomorrow, we actually were working with a number between 100 and 200 people, but we have over 1,000 people who have registered, and a lot of more people who are sending emails to say how can they be a part of the launch. This tells us that young people in Nigeria have not given up on this country. They believe in this administration, and they know that we are going to do things differently. And that is why we are being transparent and accountable to them. My office is essentially open to them, and we have an open door policy, and this endears us to them to show them. It makes them see that this government is interested. Like I said earlier, the Youth Activities Dashboard is going to be the first digital platform for monitoring youth activities. If young people in Nigeria can all monitor the progress of youth development in their states, in their local government, in their regions, and in the country generally, then they don't need to rely on data that is said to them. They just simply go to the dashboard and see what is happening in their communities or their, in their region or country generally. And even for the academics who do a lot of research, the Youth Activities Dashboard also then gives us a lot of opportunities for policy direction. So I believe that no matter the apathy that we have had before now, once the Youth Activities Dashboard is launched, young people in Nigeria now have a primary resource where they can go to and then get their information on what is happening in the Ministry of Youth Development, on what is happening in every ministry, department, and agency outside of the Youth Development Ministry. And like I always tell young people when I have an opportunity to speak to them, I say to them that the Ministry of Youth Development is the one that really houses that name youth development. But youth initiatives are in every ministry, department, and agency. When you consider our population as above 60% of Nigeria's entire population, then anything the president does is a youth initiative, because he's doing it for, we are the ones who occupy that major population bucket. So it's important that we see whatever the president is doing as youth initiatives, and that's what we are also drawing out. In addition to that, we are also going to enlighten young people to see that beyond anything that has the tag youth, there are initiatives, there are opportunities for them in different sectors. Thank you.
So it's quite interesting, bringing up this kind of innovation, because just like my colleague said here, that Nigerian youth are somewhat, what's it called, not sympathetic to some extent. They are not necessarily interested, but you made us understand that most Nigerian youth actually want this country to work, and I really, really appreciate that particular point. It's quite valid. But if you look at the success of digital platform like this, it depends on infrastructure. So with 35 or only 35% of Nigerians having access to the internet, how does this youth activities dashboard, take care of the underserved rural communities, the youth in the rural communities who do not have access to the internet to view this portal, for instance?
Thank you. That's a very important question, and we already have that on the table. So one of the things that we did before coming out to say we want to launch the Youth Activities Dashboard is we have a structure called the Youth Initiatives Liaison Officers. The Youth Initiative Liaison Officers are those who are going to reach out to the grassroots and also, take information back to them. We are aware that not everybody has access to, digital platforms. But for those who cannot get this access, how do we ensure that we reach out to them, and how do we make sure that they are not left behind in this, whole drive for a better youth ecosystem? So the Youth Initiatives Liaison Officers is the answer to that. And we are not working alone. We are using the whole of government approach. We are working with all 36 states, making sure that we carry along the aids of the governors in these states who are the closest to the young people in their states. And then we are also now dovetailing into local governments. The Minister of Youth Development has an initiative called the Greenhouse Initiative, which we are also latching on. So we are making use of everything possible to make sure that young people who are in underserved communities are not left behind. And for sustainability sake, because this dashboard is going to outlive us, it's going to outlive this administration, we are infusing it into the Ministry of Youth Development. And that is why when the site is released, you'll find out that there's a lot of integration with the ministry. So it's beyond me, it's beyond my office, it's beyond this administration. It's for Nigerian youth, and to make sure that young people are not left behind. To also make sure that those who are in underserved communities are not in any way, left behind in this. We are also working hand in hand with the legislators who are very close to the grassroots, as well as the local government chairmen. So we are taking, when we have to take flyers, if we need to take flyers, even though we are in a digital world now, if we need to take flyers, we need to take flyers. If we need to call town hall meetings, we need to call town hall meetings. If you look at my office or my portfolio, at the end of the monitoring is delivery, and you cannot deliver if you have not successfully passed information down to the last person. So when all of this is done, we have collected data, we know where initiatives are going to be held. It is important for this office and my own, it's important for me, my role in this office, to take this information to the grassroots, to say, look, young people in XYZ local government or community, this is coming to you, this is what we have done. How many people have succeeded in registering for this? And in some cases, I remember that there was a town hall meeting that my office held in Lagos in conjunction with the Ministry of Youth Development. And the young people in that particular local government said they had issues registering for government opportunities. And instantly, the local government chairman in Lagos, I think it's Solo LCDA now, provided computers for them to register for federal government, youth initiatives. So all of this is coming together, and we are doing a lot of work, but nobody will be left behind. I can assure Nigerian youth, as the essay to the president on youth initiatives, monitoring and delivery, that no young person in this country would be left behind in youth initiatives.
Right, and in a bit to not, leave everyone behind, you've already mentioned what this dashboard will do. It will track, it will monitor, and also assess various government initiatives. Perhaps there is a window to raise concerns, to ask questions and all of that. Does the dashboard give you the opportunity to, share your opinion, perhaps on equitable access or distribution and all of that? Or we just have to go through it to just monitor without being able to, express our own opinion?
Absolutely. The dashboard gives you access to contact us. You would find a part of the dashboard has the contact details where you can ask questions, you can reach out to us. And I must also say that this particular point you've raised was raised because we are not working alone, we are working with CSOs. One of our funder at the moment is the Nigerian Youth Futures Fund, and we are working closely with them. And this question is one of the questions that we asked: how do we ensure that young people do not just monitor, but can also give feedback? At the end of all of this loop is feedback, and only feedback can make the dashboard better. So yes, that feature is on the dashboard. We are going to have that as an active part of the dashboard where we can get information. And also that part or that feature also gives young people the opportunity to apply to be a part of initiatives coming up in their respective zones or states. So it's not a closed, uninteractive dashboard. It's a dashboard where there are people who are going to be working in the back end, responding to mails, responding to text messages, and making sure that whatever questions or concerns young people have, they can ask, and then it will be acted upon. Another resource that young people can also use to get to the dashboard or to get feedback to us is the Nigerian Youth Help Desk by the Ministry of Youth Development. This initiative was initiated by the Honorable Minister Ayodele Olawande, and it's a very resourceful initiative for young people. The Nigerian Youth Help Desk gives them the opportunity to come on board, to make calls, and also it's not just for them to, to complain. It's also for them to say that we have this feedback for government and we think that you can do things differently. Apart from that, our social media platforms are open. Personally, I receive a lot of DMs, I receive a lot of emails, and these are from Nigerians, young Nigerians who want this country to work, like I said earlier. And there has not been one email that I have received that hasn't been progressive. You have a lot of progressive thinkers who are young Nigerians, and we appreciate them in the Ministry of Youth Development.
Yeah, quite interesting. And then you've also helped us understand how, this whole thing will definitely work and how people can interact with it. But, critics have actually argued that most of the youth-centric initiatives have actually not had clear impact in their lives. And what exactly are they going to do with it? But I'm wondering what you're doing to ensure that you do not, this initiative does not, experience the same pitfalls of the previous programs or initiatives that we've had. So what specific metrics or KPIs would be used to measure the effectiveness of this this initiative, so that, and then how do you also plan to communicate same to the Nigerian youth so that they can see that yes, this is essentially or absolutely working?
Thank you. The first KPI and the most important one that we are looking at is what are the needs. We are conducting a needs assessment in these various zones, communities, states, local government to make sure that we understand the needs of the people, because sometimes we fall into the trap of assuming that we know what people need, and so you take a borehole to where they want a transformer, or you take a transformer to where they actually want something to help them with their farms. So we are conducting needs assessment, and I must say that we are not working alone. We are also putting into consideration the constituency projects by our legislators. At the end of the day, it's all for Nigerian youths. And we are looking at making sure that whatever projects that are coming on board for Nigerian youths or for young Nigerians are actually impactful projects. And that was why when I started speaking earlier, I said that this dashboard, the monitoring of the youth initiatives in Nigeria would essentially help us understand the policy direction the Ministry of Youth Development needs to take, or the youth ecosystem needs to take, or even the development partners or the CSOs needs to take, so that we are not all working in different angles. We are using the whole of government approach, the executive, the legislature, and we are also using the whole of community approach, working with CSOs, working with development partners, making sure that we are not working alone. So we understand the needs of the people. So at the top of this ranking of the KPI, like I said earlier, is the needs assessment. What do young people really need in their community? Once we establish that this is what they need, then we draw the draft. we draw the graph and we understand that, okay, these are the initiatives coming. Are they going to be impactful? Can we level them up with the needs of the people in this community? If our answer is no, then what do? We now have intervention initiatives to mitigate, to close that gap, while the ones that have already been funded keep running. And like I said earlier, unlike before where we had, a lot of CSOs on this side, and then we have government on that side. Now we are working together, working closely with Nigerian Youth Futures Fund, working closely with other CSOs, working closely with development partners, because we want Nigeria to work for young people.
Interesting. And on the introduction of the Youth Activity Board, I see here that it's also expected to connect youth to opportunities, foster transparency, and driving impactful development. I believe I would want to focus on the opportunities. What are the major opportunities that youth are likely to, see, experience, and all of that, and access on the dashboard? Perhaps job opportunities, entrepreneurial opportunities, and all of that.
Yes, the opportunities are numerous, and I really cannot exhaust all of these opportunities. But we have been able to break down youth initiatives in Nigeria into 4 buckets. The first one is policy and advocacy. On the strength of policy would eventually lie how much we grow in the youth ecosystem. Advocacy, also works with policy. Then we have the human capacity development, which is very important for young people in any part of the world. We need to empower, capacity. We need to ensure that young people have the capacity that they need to excel in different or various sectors that they have chosen. The third one is empowerment, bottom-up empowerment, making sure that young people at the grassroots are empowered enough for them to survive and be sustainable in their growth. And the last one are interventions. Now, within these 4 buckets are going to be a lot of opportunities. So when we roll out the initiatives that are funded and are going to take off, for instance, if you are from Abuja, let me use this, a senatorial district in Abuja, and you know that this initiative is coming up, maybe they are training young people in digital literacy, and you deserve, or you would like to be a part of that training, you simply send a message. We look at the implementing agency, we can, we latch you onto them, and then you become registered. Unlike, we don't know what is happening, they have completed the training, we didn't even know, we just saw pictures. That way, from introduction to conclusion, you are a part of the initiative, you're a part of the process. And, just like when you apply for a job, when you make applications to a job, you have to apply. When you don't apply if you don't know that there's a vacancy. But what we are doing now is we are bringing the vacancies to young people to say, this is going to be happening in your region. You need to follow. If you don't even have interest in it, you can encourage someone to attend. Because at the end of the day, the initiatives are for you, and it's for young people to be better in Nigeria.
All right, before we end this conversation, I'm also quite interested in the renewed hope agenda by this administration. So do you think this dashboard will help Nigerian youth, especially to hold this government accountable in some of the deliverables that they're expecting this administration to definitely deliver on their promises? And then what plans are in place to ensure that this doesn't die with this administration, but it's sustained beyond this current administration?
Thank you. One of the promises the president made in his manifesto is that this administration will be accountable and this administration will be transparent. And I believe that the dashboard has addressed these 2 promises. We are now being accountable, we are being transparent to young people in Nigeria. Gone are the days, when young people will say they don't know what's going on for them in government, we don't know we don't know what initiatives or plans this government has for us. They are really not doing anything for young people. Now you can see what young people are going to be able to get in government. That is one. Then to the other part of your question about sustainability, this dashboard is planned to outlive this administration, and that is why it is going to be infused into the Ministry of Youth Development. The department that is going to be responsible for making sure that the dashboard is up and running should be the PRS department, and other departments that are supposed to feed data into the dashboard. And essentially, when the design of the dashboard is eventually laid out, you understand that we are not working in a silo, and that is why I mentioned at the start of this sometime during this conversation that my office is working closely with the Minister of Youth Development, or the Ministry of Youth Development, the Permanent Secretary, and the directors there, to make sure that when I leave this position, what happens to the dashboard, it doesn't die. The funders are also making sure, the support system we have are also making sure, the government resources we have are also making sure that this platform, you know, goes beyond the Renewed Hope administration. And that is what, one of the things that this President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is building is sustainability. And that's why when you look at the models of the project that are ongoing, they are built to be sustainable. They are built to take Nigeria from where Nigeria currently is to a place where Nigeria should be. And that's what we are also making sure to do. And so this is just a start of many opportunities to come for young Nigerians. We believe that this dashboard will outlive this administration. And it is also important that Nigerians take ownership, young Nigerians take ownership of this dashboard. Because, you know, like I said earlier, the young Nigerians I have met in my course of work are Nigerians who want this country to work. And if you want this country to work, then you take ownership of the dashboard.
Amazing. Special Assistant to the President on Youth Initiatives, Titilope Gbadamosi, say kudos to what you've done and what you're doing. Thank you so much for speaking with TVC News this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.